Welcome back for another video. It's Eharbad. We're in Raid Shadow Legends, and I wanted to have a little chat about Curse City. Specifically, I'm going to go through and talk about what strategies I employed across all the stages of Soulcross that I've done so far, and we'll probably dip in to Amius, and I can talk a little bit about my experience of that fight, and hopefully give you guys some hints and tips along the way. S1 was the starting point. This was kind of an annoying stage, to be honest. And in terms of the strategy, I ended up using a stun set Soul Bond and a stun set Cupidus with double ally attack from my two finite hard built 300 speed reflex barricans. And then I had one of the soul bonds I typically have in a lethal set. I think it's this one. So between that and the stun set, which I think is missing gear right now, missing a lot of gear. That's kind of how I went around this room. And between two AoE attack stun sets with double ally attack, I was generally having a good chance of getting stuns. Then you have 2 turn meter drops with Soul Bond as well. And I really like this strategy overall. I do miss out on decreased defense, mostly because my Jetney not ascended yet, not booked. And if she was booked, I probably would have put her in place of the Cupidus. You got, double AoE on A2 and A3 with a really nice chance to stun on the A1. So I think she would have been absolutely the better choice for me to use instead of the Cupidus in this team. I would keep the 2 soul bonds simply because really this A3 massively underrated. The fact that we've got 100% and full TM depletion, so not even 100%. This is like 0, takes it right down, whether it's over max or not. This paired with the A1 AoE double ally attack. I really like this setup. Like I said, I probably would just change it to that ideally. Obviously, if your Cupidus is well built, then things are different. But mine is currently unbooked and has never really had a lot of love. Doesn't get the gear, doesn't get the masteries. So anyway, that's S1. Into S2, this is what I went for. Nishak in a stone skin set did most of the work, has since had his gear changed, was built with more attack in a stone skin. We got an increased attack coming from Brackus. We have Fushan trying to give us a little bit of AoE stun for a bit of control. And then, to be honest, Cielika actually had no gear. She was just really there to die, basically, for want of a better word, basically a target to die. Turns there 37. Actually, let's just go back and see where we ended up. 61 turns, 4th place. Not too bad. Obviously, if we look at the global side, I'm sure, some crazy things. +4 Jetney, +4. Rorik actually would be fantastic for this. And to be honest, maybe I should summon him at some point. Would definitely help a lot here. If we can actually show the abilities, there we go. Because we've got a nice single target stun with a turn meter. And then so you get a turn meter drop, and then if it's a full turn meter drop, you get an AoE stun. So generally got a pretty good chance, particularly if you pair this with Soul Bond's TM drop, you can get an AoE stun quite easily. Got a really nice 50% ignore defense here, which we know in Soulcross is really strong to get people dead, and then you got a good chance to stun on the A1. So really good overall. So at some point I will summon him, and let's just swap this over. Sorry, getting distracted, you see. Need to do you and Minnow soon, so maybe we will pick another 5-star champion to get ranked up. Let's go back into our Curse City and try to be a little bit less distracted. S3, what did I do here? So basically, I had damage coming from Hefrak. I had a bit of a decreased defense from Allure, also gives us a bit of turn meter control. Does give us the sleep, but it's not really that consistent. Used this quite a bit, this stealing turn meter. This is also pretty good. I think my Grow Hack was still in a stun set from previous use, so it doesn't have the crit required to really make use of that A2. Had Siege Hulk in damage mode, so we actually had good double damage really coming in. Siege Hulk self buff, so Siege Hulk, Hefrak doing damage. And then Countess Lix, I believe, was really there mostly for the kind of control. You've got this decreased speed, decreased turn meter, block active skills on the A3. Really good crowd control champion. No longer in any gear. I can't actually remember what I put her in, to be honest. But that was the way I approached it. 43 turns. Just go for as much crowd control. Big Un actually would be fantastic for this, as you do have this decreased speed, decreased turn meter on the A3. 7 turns it starts. Even booked, that's 5 turns. I mean, in this day and age, that really should be 4 turns. But anyway. And then you've also got this good chance to get an AoE stun, only 50%. Again, like Big Un, really good champion, but has been power prepped so much. You really feel like they should go back and play with these. Drop a 1 cooldown off this ability. To be honest, in this day and age, 30% chance to put decreased speed, even on a 2 hit, like, it's not good anymore. And then same here, like there's plenty of champions that do 100% chance to stun, and even the decreased accuracy is not 100%. So could definitely use a bit of a buff. Those are basically the champions. I really like Siege Hulk for this. Countess, if you got her, very good. Grow Hack too. So yeah, that is that. On the S5, what did I go for and how did I do? Not great is the answer. Iron Twins, basically just super tanky, really. I made sure I kept decreased speed with Morrigan, which is the big thing. Plus, obviously, Teodor helps put out the decreased speed as well. And then, to be honest, Nethril also coming in with the decreased speed, as you're not going to land stun. So I was really just relying on decreased speed being up at all times, bit of poison, bit of HP burn, and a bit of healing from Rector, and that was kind of it. There wasn't too much thought going on other than be tanky, stay alive, and get decreased speed up on the boss, and then I think you should be okay. S4 over here, Void champions across these factions: Mithrala, Lydia, Visix, and Vlad. Really, really strong here. Particularly, these 3 we all get for free. Painkeeper, really like in this role, giving us healing, reducing the cooldown of the skills. We got Visix to control, decreased defense, self buff from Mithrala. Really, Vlad could be any damage dealer, but obviously Vlad does a really good job because you got decreased defense, block active skills, got leech and a bit of TM drop as well. So like really strong here, but you can heavily rely on Mithrala with the old Hex giving that petrification. So you don't necessarily need the control coming from Vlad or the damage, but I think the other 4 are really, really strong, and you could just approach it different ways. Obviously this way, because we're getting that decreased defense on top of Lydia, obviously, but really just the damage from Vlad. Plus Visix actually can do some decent damage and getting the increased defense from Mithrala. Obviously we did it in a short number of turns overall. So that is that one. On to S6. Creedon was in here, currently in, what do you call it? The pit. So we don't get to see. But basically, I was rotating the crowd control coming from Taragi with that provoke AoE that increases chance if they're under debuffs, with the freeze from Creedon. Decreased defense coming from Duke, who also gives us decrease attack. Kellen, I think, was actually a stun set because was left over from last Curse City. Does some damage, gives us a bit of decreased speed as well, which is quite nice, and a weaken on the A1. All of those help Taragi. And then Jorg was actually mostly there for the increased attack, but the revive also is a nice safety net. But really, Creodon does so much crowd control here that you've got Creodon, you're going to be fine. If you don't, I would probably try and find. I'd probably run 2 Taragis if I could, or 1 Taragi, maybe 2 Dukes, because Duke actually also has a provoke on the A3. And obviously these 2 debuffs really help the Taragi land, because this provoke chance goes up by 5% for each debuff on the enemy team. So if you have 2 debuffs across 5 champions, you're basically getting 100% chance to provoke. So that is pretty important that you get debuffs up before Taragi uses the provoke, and those are really the main kind of good champions in this option. I think actually Kate could be all right. You've got 50% chance of putting random skill on cooldown for 2 turns. That's actually really not that bad, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. If you had it in reflex, you'd actually get it quite consistently, but it's kind of it's not ideal, if we're honest. Hitatsu's also a pretty good champion because you get the increased defense and continuous heal. Those are kind of the other kind of shout outs, I think, within that room. S7, we've again got a Void stage. Yakal we all get for free. Absolutely rumps this stage, along with Mithrala, Lydia. And again, I was using that Painkeeper. I saw the Torments, so I threw in Maneater. We also have Visix here, who's again fantastic. But I did just want that block debuffs coming from Maneater. I could equally have used Sky-Touched Shaman for that, going up against these Torments. Got plenty of other options really as well in terms of crowd control. You've got Prundar, who does have this AoE chance to stun. Does need a lot of books. You've also got a Reviver healer in Gear Grinder. Sylar's actually really, really strong as well. You got the decrease 10 meter, decrease speed, along with Visix for more crowd control. So there's various options you can go. You've also got a cleanse from Mithrala, but do be aware with cleansing with Mithrala against Torments, because she actually buffs you after cleansing, so you can get refrozen. So if you can bring block debuffs in both Maneater or Sky Touched, are the 2 that I can see available. Not sure if there's any others, then I think that is the way to go. Awaken stage, I basically fed Seer with all the buffs in the world. My Scathix actually isn't really geared at all. Just there to make up the awakening stars, because getting 20 stars is quite tough. 6-star on the Seer that I bought, 6-star on Scathix that I pulled at some point, and doesn't really massively benefit from it. But this is why I don't sell souls and I just use them when I get them, because there is always circumstances where it becomes beneficial. It allowed me to use my trio, really the best 3 supports that I have, even though Mithrala is only 3-star and Lydia is 0. I managed to carry that with these 2 6-stars. So that's how I did S23. On to S8. I barely even thought about it. I had a little bit of a piss takes team, to be honest, with Double Duchess. Completely unnecessary. Don't need that. Jingle Hunter, massively underrated. I say this all the time. But you have this 100% chance to freeze all enemies if you kill someone. And as long as you set them up in the turn order, you can get that kill. Plus, to be honest, this is actually a pretty useful cold snap. I mean, again, it's not fantastic in this day and age. It's only a 20% AoE turn meter drop. Not really that great. And you do get a fill turn meter on this champion as well if it's critical. And we are going to build him with 100% crit rate. So you typically you can use this and then use the A2 follow up to try and get crowd control, and then use A1s to cycle back round. Stag Knight, obviously, decreased defense, decreased attack, does fantastic. And then Yannicka was just there to help out with some damage. Mine's not booked and not really amazingly built, but pretty decent. So that really rounded it out. I would have probably been better off dropping a Duchess, but no one else was built. Again, another like 6-star champion ascended that hasn't had a blessing picked, has no gear equipped, but could end up being a fill at some point. Gorlos actually another decent option in terms of decreased defense. Yeah, pretty viable if you don't have Stag Knight. Richoff wasn't fussed about, really just there really as a poison champion, particularly with this A2. Didn't really fit what I was going for. But you do have people like Dur as another reviver, which is pretty decent overall. And even Colin actually gives you an increased attack with a TM fill and a continuous heal across the board, which is quite nice as well. There's a few options if you don't have supports like Duchess. I do think Stag Knight and Jingle Hunter are actually very strong for this stage without the crazy legendaries. You can see I did it in 55 turns, pretty decent. Obviously, if you want to do it faster, people tend to have really strongly built nukers, like all these pluses on Yannicka, etc. So yeah, I mean, obviously there are faster ways, but I think Jingle Hunter, massively underrated and a good way of doing that stage. Then on to Sand Devil, I literally did the Godseeker approach. I manualed it, made sure that we didn't use the abilities out of sync. Obviously, not going to get perfectly speed tuned. This is my Godseeker that I use for Sand Devil 25, so obviously very capable of doing this lower level Sand Devil. And then I literally just had Mordecai doing HP burn, just with enough accuracy to land that. Didn't really matter beyond that because he was going to get revived every time. And that was pretty much it. I think that's a pretty straightforward way of doing it. Mine was not quick by any stretch of the imagination, but whatever, got the job done. On to S10, we actually had these brothers here, Konstantin and Vlad, the partnership. But really the big one is your Carl again, free champion that everyone can get. Uros would actually be a decent option alongside. Could have put accuracy on Shamil and use the A2 and give the fear AoE fear. These are all viable. I used Asuga, gives a little bit of kind of protection, a bit of a decreased defense, Godseeker for healing, and a revive in case. And then you've got 2 damage dealers. You also have decreased defense coming from Vlad. You have a leech. So like some really strong legendary options here. But I'd say everyone should have your Carl. Hopefully a lot of people have Godseeker, and there are actually some decent champions alongside to use. Like I said, Sky Touch pretty good, Shamil pretty good. Valkanen actually probably would have been decent. Cardinal also quite good. Doom Screech decent as well. And actually even Stitch Beast, you got this TM drop on the A3, is not the worst in the world, but not much else coming from her to or eat really. And Uros, like I said, everyone can get Uros. So I think there's viable options. S11, this one was actually a little bit awkward. The approach I went was literally strip them with Kaimar, burn them with Artak. You didn't really need to worry about anything else. I went for damage with Hefrak to kill the spiderlings quickly, make it a bit easier. I think if you don't have Kaimar, I could have used Thalia to remove all buffs. That would have been another option. What else? Could have used Archmage to stun them all. That's kind of inconsistent, but you definitely could have used Creedon to freeze them all. You need some way of stopping them counterattacking, really. And that's either by stripping their buff or killing them outright, which is kind of tough to guarantee. So you really want to either strip them, stun them, or freeze them. those are probably the best options here. Beyond that, damage is your friend. HP burn's obviously a nice way of doing it, because you end up killing the spiderlings pretty quickly and the ads. To be honest, Artac's not really super necessary. I'd probably go for direct damage ahead of worrying about that. But yeah, I think stripping or freezing stunning is really what you want to do. On to S13. Double Nullhorn was super important. I actually ranked up my second Nullhorn to 60, or to 6-star 60. I think I used a barrel during one of the champion trainings, and being able to rotate between the provokes here. I had Steel Skull to give me a little bit of increased defense and just general healing. The increased defense helped me with Grush as a nuker, and then also Sandlash as a nuker. So I had 2 defense-based nukers that were both benefiting from the increased defense from Steel Skull, which was also helping the Nullhorns stay survive. So this was a really solid quintet, to be honest. If you do get hit, you have the ally protection coming from Sandlash. You have an A1 provoke from Sandlash, which is really useful as well. You have healing from Grush. You can see I haven't even set the blessings for these champions. One day I will. I really like this 5. How do we do on the turns? Way over whatever the turn's taken that it wants to show. But you can see not that many people in my clan have even beaten it. Yeah. And you can see like a lot of these same champions are going to be coming through. Sandlash, Steel Skull, Nullhorn, Grush. A lot of these really fast teams didn't rely on 2 Nullhorns. Probably either had significantly more damage to be able to get through it in one, maybe Nullhorn in a reflex set or something, giving refresh procs potentially as well. For me, I found this really, really safe, and this will be a consistent team that will be able to do this quite regularly and without too much headache. S12, actually quite an achievable clear as well, I think, because Syl can just hard carry this. Does massive work. I actually built my Syl with a bit more damage, rebuilt, regeared her. Still in Relentless, so quite low on the defense. Is that actually, maybe she's missing a piece of gear? That's why there you go. That's why, missing the chest. I was thinking like that looked really low on defense to be in nuke build, so obviously had the chest stolen. Double Ugo because they were built, and double Venom Mage because I have a 6-star Venom Mage, and then of my 5 stars, using a second Venom Mage makes the most sense. Will actually do something. I had marked, nice little play on words, because not only do you get a block debuffs, which is pretty useful for certain instances, but really it was because we get increased defense, and a 2-turn increased defense is really, really strong, because obviously Syl is my main damage dealer. So if Marked had not been a 4-star, I was going to run Marked. And if I was struggling with Venom Mage, 5-star Venom Mage, my plan was to 5-star Marked and do it there. And I do think that would be more optimum. Double Ugo was actually pretty nice, meant that I was able to have cleanses, 2 of them as well, which is kind of useful for the final stage. I think I ended up putting one of the Ugos, and I don't think we'll be able to see it anymore because I think I've fixed them both. But I'm 99% sure I rebuilt one of these Ugos to be high resist, to be in a position to then cleanse my entire team in the 3rd wave, because if I remember correctly, the Jingwon ruins your stun. So you can't stun him, and then I think he ends up cleansing. Can't remember where that is, but maybe it's here at the start of it. Yeah, removes all stuns from all allies. So what he ends up doing is you end up taking all of the like the freeze from the 2 ninjas, and you get provoked from Harima. So having a high resist Ugo who can use her own cleanse, and really the one you care about. If I remember correctly, actually, Harima opens with the A2 rather than the A3. So you've only really got the freeze to cleanse, and you just kind of hope a bit that you get the right things cleansed off, and then you're in a position to try and start to take control of the fight. So that was how I did S12. Then on to S14, I ended up using Vassal as a healer, predominantly with the balance. I think I had Vassal in a bolster set. And then beyond that, I was relying on the stun from Husk and the stun from Fu Shan, alongside a drop defense coming from Sekir. So you have the HP burn into drop defense and weaken, with a nuke coming from Kandrathon. So it kind of went along the lines of I would stun one wave with Fu Shan into drop defense, nuke, get hopefully kind of kill them. I usually took a few hits, I think, on one of the first waves, and then I'd use Vassal with the shield to try and survive that, and otherwise use the A3 to balance everyone's health and heal everyone. And then whilst I was rotating through on the second wave, say, I'd use the other stun, get everyone's abilities back, do it again, and then third wave, use the other stun. So I was alternating between, really. And so you do need a bit of RNG because these are not 100% chance to stuns. But that was the way that worked best for me. I did try Nazana instead of Vassal, and I think it is possible, but a bit more RNG heavy. I liked Vassal in the bolster set with the equalize HP, worked quite nicely. Plus, I had this AoE True Fear. So with those stuns and the True Fear, which you actually cycle back to really quickly, so I actually had this available on every wave. Whereas the stuns, I only had one. So I'd basically do stun plus fear in each wave, but alternating between Husk and Fu Shan. And that worked pretty nicely. S20. Again, here we were really relying a lot on Taragi with the provoke. We had a lot of debuffs to come along. So we were alternating really between Goffred's AoE chance to stun and Taragi's AoE chance to provoke, and then damage coming elsewhere. Mishinaki doing fantastic job with the Hex and the decreased defense, decreased attack, but you also get that from Duck the Pierce. So I think I ended up having Mishinaki in lethal. I had to kind of re-gear a little bit around to get this done. I think I put Taragi probably in that bolster set. I only have one, so I have to move it around to give me a bit more survivability and a bit of a kind of shield to help. Goffred super useful here because you get the not just an increased defense, but you get this passive, the block damage if you're going to take a fatal hit. Plus, the fact is, all 5 of these champions pretty tanky, but you can see there's no real healing. That's the only kind of major issue. So you're hoping. I think I ended up with Goffred actually having Harvest to spare. Yeah, that was the only thing I actually set up. So we could potentially get a bit of a leech coming from there. And he just had like random gear. Obviously, I've stripped off a bit since. Michinaki's is still in lethal, actually. I haven't changed him. He had been in Relentless for Hydra, but now he's actually in lethal, still got the Relentless boots on. Taragi was in the bolster plus Immortal, but has been stripped as well. That was S20. The last one that I have actually done is S17, the Fire Knight. And honestly, you don't need both cantras. I think my fastest time was with both cantras. So you don't actually need, say, both Newts, although obviously Newt very strong. I really like Cantra for this fight because Cantra is how you get heal reduction and decreased speed. Those are the two most important debuffs to have against Fire Knight, and you do not have that many options. If we go and look at debuffs, we say we want big decreased speed. Cantra is basically the best option. You also have Haikatoon and Sill, not too terrible. And there's actually my wild card, which we'll come to in a second. And then you go heal reduction. You're like, well, okay, now I've got even less options. So if you don't have Cantra, you could go for Grizzled Jarl, who does give you the heal reduction. Also gives you a block debuff, which we know is pretty good against this boss. You want that on that first hit so you don't take the decreased speed, etc. So if you did have him slowest but just faster than the boss, that would work really well. But the absolute hidden gem is Old Gruckus. Because not only do you get a heal reduction, 100% chance to land, along with actually decreased attack, which is kind of nice, and booked out, that's a 3-turn cooldown, you also get a 100% chance to put decreased speed, which is also pretty nice, also on a 3-turn cooldown. And just to cap it off, if you need to heal up, you get a leech on the A1. So actually, Old Gruckus would be fantastic for that slot. Now, because I had Brogni, I didn't need to use Grizzled Jarl. And obviously Brogni helps a little bit with the healing as well because of the shield. So yeah, I mean, there's options in terms of what else. I think if you don't have Valkyrie, you can use Skull Crusher, but if you don't have counterattack, I don't think you can do this, to be honest. There is a third option for counterattack with Drokul, who, when the shield's broken, will make you counterattack. So this is a third option. I think if we look at the best teams, I mean, yeah, the other option is have 3 Nuts. Yeah, that'll work. But again, the Cantra, you see. 4 Nuts if you don't need Cantra at all, then. Okay, that's kind of crazy, but let's not think that that's necessarily an option. Morag with the ally attack, also pretty good. So there are compositions, as we can see here, that do it without counterattack. So it is possible. I think you would need Morag for the ally attack if you do not have counterattack, though. But I think those are the best options, and obviously Morag would be worth building. Then for the stages I haven't done, I did mention this in previous video. I think I could probably do S15. I just need to actually re-gear people, and it's whether I can be bothered. But S21, this is just depressing. It's not fun at all. I don't like these stages where you don't have any realistic crowd control, but you have to crowd control the enemy 100% of the time. Not only are you relying on stun sets, but you then come in and you go, oh, there's double Mortu and Duchess. And, they're all Spirit Affinity and I'm all Force Affinity. And obviously, if you don't crowd control the Mortus, they peril you and you die, which is no fun for anyone. I think if we didn't have, even if we kept the Duchess and we didn't have Mortu, this would be perfectly tolerable. I could deal with, even having the double Cantrifon and Duchess. I could deal with it if there weren't the Mortus, because I can just do a war of attrition. You've got options for healing. Could bring on Rector Drath. We've got Revive on Death. We could use from Mother Sibel. We could have the decreased speed. We've got Cleanse from ourselves. We've got Ally Protection. We've got Provokes. We've got, decreased attack from block buffs, etc. There's like lots of things we can do to try and sort of, endure, right? But we can't endure peril. It just isn't a thing. So you end up having to either have crazy nuke gear, or you're just relying on stun sets. And I'm pretty sure even the best teams in the world, you can see turns taken, they're not doing this fast. It's a lot of stun sets. And then probably having 1 in Savage here with a 6-star Crushing Rend. And it's still, I expect, had to be run over and over. S18 I think I could do, but we have Hegemon in second wave, so I need to basically put someone in a really big shield or bolster set, probably Tatura, to give me the ability to take the nuke and to survive. So I need to re-gear to Tura for that. I then would need Nethril, at least Nethril in Stone Skin or Untouchable to be able to take control in the second stage, and I'll probably need to re-gear these other champions as well, to be honest. You can see I've started ranking up actually my second Nethril, who I would probably put in place, frankly, of Cupidus, and I think that setup would be fine, to be honest. And again, even I could do that. But yeah, I think enough crowd control from 2 Nethrils, but it's not fun. Like going up with, it's just not fun. But this is fine. Like S18 is fine. I could go ahead and do that. Like I said, really double boss and S18 are fine, but I'd still be stuck then with 21 and the infamous 19. And I do have double Dathy, Achak. I do have an Oathbound. So again, I think this technically would be doable. You can see I've got all the champions required. I do have a Seneschal hiding somewhere here as well. So it technically would be possible, but S21 and S19 are just so miserable. And I wish it wasn't like that. I wish it wasn't so. Right, it's been a very long video. Actually, I'm going to leave it there and I'll come back later and do a standalone video for Amiss and kind of try and give some hints and tips in its own singular video rather than bolting it on at the end when I've already been waffling on for 36 minutes. So yeah, we'll save that for another video. As always, thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.